I am standing out here staring at the ground, as I often do, and I'm just thinking about all of the things that I want to do for spring editing. And I thought that I could take you around and show you what I'm gonna do. So spring is a great time for editing your garden, for dividing plants and looking to find seedlings, volunteer seedlings, moving things around. So I'm going to show you a few of the things that I'm thinking about doing. First of all, the first thing that I'm going to do, so you can see this bed here. So I'm going to expand it to include that green mountain boxwood. One thing for sure, so you can see these blue irises. So those have been growing for a few years and they're ready to be divided. So you can see I've got two along this long bed. I'm going to, once they're finished flowering, I'm going to take a clump and move it over here so that I have 3 coming down. And then I'll probably take a couple more clumps and put one over here, and then one probably in this newly shaped border. So I want to do that for sure. I have a grass. I think it's like Molina. I don't know what it's called. I have a trio of grasses actually. So it's right here, and then there's one there, and then a third one over here, and this one here. So this one here is right underneath the peach tree, and it's too close to the peach tree, so I want to push it back to the back of the bed, but sort of keep the trio shape because it gets quite tall. It gets like maybe 4 feet tall or something, but I want to have like a trio of them, and I'll just find a place back towards that other peach tree, or no, plum tree. This plant here is Veronica. It's it's silver-leaved. It has sort of purple spiky flowers. It's one of my favorite plants, and as you can see, they're getting quite big this year, so I definitely want to divide those. And back here behind them, right underneath the peach tree, that might be a volunteer. It looks like it's the same plant, but I'm not quite sure yet. It could also be a weed. Sometimes it's hard to tell. So another thing that's good to do in spring is take cuttings. I do a lot of my plants from cuttings as well as from seed. It's a great way to get more plants, obviously for free. This euphorbia or cushion spurge, I'm gonna try to take cuttings from this. I don't actually know if you can do leaf cuttings or stem cuttings or whatever with this, but I'll give it a try. I also noticed in this pot, so this pot had like a mystery shrub that had come up last year, and the shrub itself didn't make it through the drought. I kind of neglected it, but underneath there's all these seedlings that are coming up this year, and I initially thought that they were poppies, but as I've gotten bigger, I don't know if you can see the shape, I actually think that they're more of this really pretty moonshine yarrow. So I'm gonna take those out of the pot probably and put them in little containers and let them grow a little bit bigger before I put them in the garden. And I think those definitely will look nice when I redo this bed, just to get some more repetition of that beautiful silver. I mean, look at this foliage. You can see how it sort of glows. I love this plant. Over in this bed, I have a number of different plants that have self-sown. I've got a bunch of volunteers. So underneath this barber here, you can see this sort of silvery plant. That's rose campion. And rose campion is a biennial. So the first year it will have these little rosettes. And then the second year it gets really tall and sort of cactus shaped. And then it puts on its flowers. So they'd be fine there for this year, but they do need to be moved. And also this part of the garden, I don't want it to have that sort of Mediterranean feel that the cactus shape I feel like creates. So those are, I need to find a place for those. This sort of darker green foliage, these are all Gaillardia seedlings. Those are self-sown from plants that I had last year. They're all clumped together, so I'll probably move them around and find a couple spaces elsewhere in the garden where I want to put those. And I also have, like, this is a self-sown black-eyed Susan or Rudbeckia, and I have a few more of those as well elsewhere. So again, like, I don't like the location always that something comes up as a self-sown plant, but you can move them, and if you do it early enough in the spring, it's not a problem. So I have these onyx and pearl penstemon over here, this beautiful purple foliage, and last year I didn't cut the flowers off. I let them go to seed, and look what we have everywhere. These little baby penstemon seedlings. You can see how they're very red on the inside. Look, there's more here, and a bunch over here. They're everywhere. So what I'll do is I'll lift some of these up. Like, here's some big ones. I'll lift some of these up and put them in a little container. I'll pot them up for a while and then put them out where I want to put them so I can mulch. I have a few clumps in this front bed of this lady's mantle. Now, it's getting pretty big, but these got huge last year, and I wanted to divide them. They're a little big. Ideally, I would have divided them earlier. You can see there's another clump there. But I might still divide those and move them, I think maybe along this big border, because I have a lot of empty spaces. So I might kind of put them, I don't know, next to the clumps of lamb's ear that I have. Okay, take a look under here. So these larger clumps are coneflowers. They're a white coneflower I grew from seed. And then look at the absolute sea of coneflower, like baby coneflower seedlings. They're everywhere. So this is why I wait to mulch. It doesn't look great, but you get so many free plants. That's way more than I would need, but right now I'm working on this project. So this is the front of our house, and this is how much space we have in the front. So it's a really narrow couple of beds, and we're going to be doing some work on the exterior of the house. So I don't want to put too much here that's perennial. So this year I've decided to just fill up the space with some annuals. So we already have these boxwoods. These at the front are some Artemisia, silver mound. And at the back, there's some astilbe, some white astilbe. So I've already cleaned out the beds and then redid this little edge. So I'll show you what I picked up. So this was the inspiration. These beautiful black petunias. They're just like very velvety and striking. This one's kind of going over. And then I thought I'd do some little dainty white ones to sort of contrast. I think they're petunias. Let's see. Calibrachoa, is that a petunia? I don't know. And then for some foliage, these purple fountain grass. And these, which I assumed they were a sweet potato vine. They're like a chartreuse. But they're Impomia. I don't know. Is that sweet potato vine? I don't usually do annuals, so. But I mean, they're looking kind of. I left them out in the rain, so it's very soggy. But they'll be fine, I think. So I'm just going to place these around to try to decide where I want to put them. I'm not really sure what I'm doing with annuals, and I don't really know how big they get or how many you're supposed to use. And of course I already have these perennials here that I need to work around. So, but I'm thinking of putting maybe the two fountain grass here in pots on either side of the step. And then I brought down some mint and peppermint that I grew from seed that I could put in front of those. Oh, I've got 3. Well, that's okay. I could put in front of those in another pot, maybe. And I've put the white ones in the front and then the black ones behind them. I don't know. I can't really evenly space everything out because of the location of the existing perennials. I think that's good. I think that's a good placement. So I found these black plastic pots, which I don't love, but they go with the color scheme. And then I have the mint down in these terracotta pots, which I don't think it matches or anything, but we're doing what we can. Working with what we got. So we get these in. Also, I finished the front beds here. I'm pretty happy with everything. I think, it'll still take a few weeks for everything to fill out. But it's looking good. I put down some mulch. I pruned these boxwoods a little bit. This one's having a hard time. I brought my tomatoes out here and I noticed, this is really bad. I've noticed yesterday, you can see this one, I don't want to touch it, this leaf here. Some of these appear to potentially have a fungal disease. So this is top priority for me today. I'm gonna take them all out and repot them individually and separate the ones that look like they have a disease, and then I don't know, hope the rest of them don't get it, because I have lost full trays to this before. And this year I'm growing a bunch of specialty varieties that I really want to, actually see. Yeah, that doesn't look good. You can see that there's some foliage there that's fallen out. I don't know what the disease is called, but you don't want it. I've got everything gathered here to pot up these tomatoes. Now, I was going to pot these up soon anyway. As you can see, they're ready to be potted up. They've got a lot of roots. But the reason I'm doing this right now is because some of them appear to have a fungal disease. In my experience, this happened to me in the last 12 or so years that I've grown tomatoes from seed. Two of those years, I lost just full trays of tomato seedlings to whatever this fungal disease is, and there really isn't anything you can do. If you see it, you just have to get rid of the tomatoes that have it, and definitely move them away from your other tomatoes because it will spread. So right now, what I'm doing is I have this tray, I have another tray, and I'm just going to pot everything up into individual containers. And once they're in the containers, I'll separate the ones that appear to have this disease. I'll probably just get rid of those. I might give them a few days to see, because I don't really know for sure what it is. And any that look suspicious, I'll just kind of keep separate for a while to see if, and I'm really hoping that I don't lose my tomatoes, because these are all specialty heirloom varieties, and I want to make sure, because the alternative will be to just go pick up some transplants at a nursery, or just go pick up some transplants, and those will be, there's a very limited range of varieties usually that you can find there. So I'm trying to salvage and save as many of these as I can. Hopefully it'll work. The reason this is happening, and it is all my fault, is because the place that I have the tomatoes right now, the room that I have them growing in, it's too warm and it's too humid, and I don't have a fan. My fan broke, and I've just been putting off getting a new one. And that's just a perfect environment for disease to spread. When you have a fan, what that does is it creates the airflow, it creates stronger stems, but it also allows the soil to dry out relatively quickly. So you have to water more frequently, but what's happening is as it dries out, the tomato seedlings, the roots aren't wet. They're not wet all the time. They get periods of being drier, and that helps them to be able to take up nutrients, and that helps them to avoid disease and such. So, I know better. I should have had a fan on these, or have them in a better location. So what you want to do when you're potting up tomatoes is you want to plant them really deeply, as deep as you can in the container, because unlike a lot of other plants, tomatoes will put on roots all the way up their stem. They can create roots anywhere on that stem. So the deeper you can plant them when you're planting them out in the ground, and anytime you're potting them up, the stronger a set of root system that they will grow. So I'm just going to put a tiny bit in the bottoms of these, a bit of potting soil. I'm going to cut off the cotyledons down here and some of the lower leaves, and just probably plant them up to, that point there, so that they're really low in the soil. And what I have right now, this is a good idea always, but right now, because I know some of these have a disease, I've got my pruners and I've got this rubbing alcohol. And what I'm going to do is wash the pruners with the rubbing alcohol every time I move to a new tomato, to hopefully not spread the disease to more tomatoes than already have it. So this one's in. You can see it's pretty high up. I just actually put the soil block right down on the bottom of the pot and filled the soil in around it. I'm going to make sure that every single one gets a appropriate label, and then I'm going to put them over into this other tray here, and I'll bottom water them once I'm all finished. Okay, here's just an update. Here's an update on the tomatoes that I potted up. These are the ones that looked like they did not have any disease, and I think they're all disease free. They've been, maybe that one has it. I don't know. They've been put through the ringer a little bit with the wind, as you can see. But I think these ones are going to be okay. I have another tray up in the front of the house that also looks okay. What varieties do I have here? Arbuzny, which I think is Russian for watermelon, because they kind of look like a watermelon, so that variety seems okay. Black from Tula. What else? Chocolate stripes. But, do as I say and not as I do, and get a fan on your tomatoes. I have picked up a new rhododendron. This one's called Calsap. So it's a pretty large variety. It gets to be about 6 by 6 feet. It has these beautiful white flowers with these sort of raspberry markings in the center. And when you see it sort of up close, when it's all blooming, it looks fair. It looks almost like a polka dot pattern. Really pretty. I'm putting it, this is sort of the general area where I want to put it, because if you come down this path here, it will be sort of the focal point as you walk this way. And I've got in this spot, and it's like, I like what it's doing. It's sort of already giving the space more of that Pacific Northwest feel. You can see how it's sort of close to those Japanese maples. And I already have this is my second rhododendron. The other one I have is Capistrano, and it's this beautiful buttery yellow color. So it has been a couple of days and I've got the rhododendron planted. Take a look at these blooms. It started blooming the other day. Look at that pattern. So pretty. Look how beautiful, and it's echoing the color of the Japanese maple behind it. So I did a few more things to this area when I planted the rhododendron. I needed to move a few things around. So there was a few, so I've got this helenium here, and around it, these are some self-sown black-eyed Susans, and they were kind of coming over here, and I moved them. I moved a few here and then one down there. It looks like it could use some water because it was just transplanted. So I moved those out of the way. I've sort of left a blank space here because right here I want to put some lady's mantle, and I plan to put that next to all of the lamb's ear that I have on this bed. And so I'm going to have lamb's ear, lady's mantle here, and then I moved over here this volunteer catmint that was in the front bed. It's doing really well. And I found a few more catmints that were self-sown elsewhere, and I put them in sort of down along the bed, but they're teeny tiny. Go find one. So there's one back there behind the velvetini, the little guy. So that's my idea for the front part of this long border, is to have repeating lamb's ear with lady's mantle and catmint next to it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to put them all in the same position in a clump. So I'm just going to try to put them near each other and see how that looks. And I don't know if one of each is going to be enough to make an impact. I might need to eventually edit it so that I have, 3 to 5 of each